Chapter 16. As Stanley entered the rec room, he could hear X-Ray's voice from all the way across the room. "See what I'm saying?" X-Ray said. "I'm right. Or am I right?" The other bodies in the room were little more than bags of flesh and bones dumped across broken chairs and couches. X-Ray was full of life, laughing and waving his arm around as he talked. "Yo, caveman, my man," he called. Stanley moved his way across the room. "Hey, slide over, Squid," said X-Ray. "Make room for the caveman." Stanley crashed on the couch. He looked for hidden cameras in the shower. He hadn't seen anything, and he hoped the warden hadn't either. "What's the matter?" asked X-Ray. "You guys tired or something?" He laughed. "Hey, keep it down, will you?" groaned Zigzag. "I'm trying to watch TV." Stanley glanced uncertainly at Zigzag, who was staring very intensely at the busted television screen. The warden greeted the boys at breakfast the next morning and went with them to the holes. Four dug in the holes, and 3 tended to the wheelbarrows. "Glad you're here, X-Ray," she said to him. "We need your sharp eyes." Stanley spent more time pushing the wheelbarrows than digging, because he was such a slow digger. He carted away the excess dirt and dumped it into previously dug holes. He was careful not to dump any of it in the holes where the gold tube was actually found. He could still see the tube in his mind. It seemed so familiar, but he just couldn't place it. He thought it might have been a lid to a fancy golden pin. KB could have been the initials of a famous author. The only famous authors he could think of were Charles Dickens, William Shakespeare, and Mark Twain. Besides, it didn't really look like the top of a pin. By lunchtime, the warden was beginning to lose her patience. She made them eat quickly, so they can get back to work. "If you can't get them to work any faster," she told Mr. Stir, "then you're going to have to climb down there and dig with them." After that, everyone worked faster, especially Mr. Stir, who was watching them. Stanley practically ran when he pushed his wheelbarrow, Mr. Stir reminding them that they weren't Girl Scouts. They didn't quit digging until every other group had finished. Later, as Stanley sat sprawled across an unstuffed chair, he tried to think of a way to tell the warden where the tube was really found, without getting himself or X-Ray in trouble. It didn't seem possible. He even thought about sneaking out at night and digging in the hole by himself. But the last thing he wanted to do after digging all day was to dig at night, too. Besides, the shovel were locked up at night, presumably so that they couldn't be used as weapons. Mr. Budinsky entered the rec room. "Stanley," he called as he made his way to him. "His name is Caveman," said X-Ray. "Stanley," he said, "Mr. Budinsky." "My name's Caveman," said Stanley. "Well, I have a letter here from someone named Stanley Yelts," said Mr. Budinsky. He turned over an envelope in his hand. "It doesn't say Caveman anywhere." Thanks," Stanley said, taking it. It was from his mother. "Who is it from?" Squid asked. "Your mother?" Stanley put it in the big pocket of his pants. "Aren't you going to read it to us?" asked Armpit. "Give him some space," said X-Ray. "If Caveman doesn't want to read it to us, he doesn't have to. It's probably from his girlfriend." Stanley smiled. He read it later after the other boys had gone to dinner. "Dear Stanley, it's wonderful to hear from you. Your letter made me feel like one of those other moms who could afford to send their kids to summer camp. I know it's not the same, but I'm very proud of you for trying to make the best of a bad situation. Who knows, maybe something good will come of this. Your father thinks he's really close to a breakthrough on his sneaker project. I hope so. The landlord is threatening to evict us because of the odor. I feel so sorry for the little old lady who lived in a shoe. It must have smelled awful. Love from both of us." "What's so funny?" Zero asked. It startled him. He thought Zero had gone to dinner with the others. "Nothing, just something my mother wrote." "What did she say?" Zero asked. "Nothing." "Oh, sorry," said Zero. "Well, see, my dad is trying to invent a way to recycle old sneakers, so the apartment kind of smells bad, because he's always cooking these old sneakers. So anyways, in the letter, my mother says she felt sorry for that little old lady who lived in a shoe, because it must have smelled bad in there." Zero stared blankly at him. "You know the nursery rhyme?" Zero said nothing. "You heard the nursery rhyme about the little old lady who lived in a shoe?" "No." Stanley was amazed. "How does it go?" asked Zero. "Didn't you ever watch Sesame Street?" Stanley asked. Zero stared blankly. Stanley headed on to dinner. He would have felt pretty silly reciting nursery rhymes at Camp Green Lake.